G'day guys, welcome back to another one of Nathan Bell's commentary videos where he deals with politics, art, culture and everything in between. Today Nate wants to tell us all about ancient aliens.
Oh yeah, well I love this ancient alien stuff. It's so good. I've spent so much time on this ancient alien stuff. It's just the best fantasy you could ever come up with. Some of the ideas that the ancient alien guys present, if they were true, it would just be so exciting. It's like some of these guys, they basically present this narrative that at a time several thousand years ago on the Earth, there was like a colonizing force of aliens who were the Egyptian gods and who were like the Hindu gods, who were. It's like they present the idea that they had bases around the planet, and that all these different ancient gods were actually, in fact, super powerful alien beings who had come in like a colonization thing and taken over parts of the earth and established themselves around the earth, and that they were here for a while. Based on these people's narrative they present, they must have been here for a few hundred years or 1,000 years. And they had battles, and then they, for some reason, left. Right now, what a fascinating suggestion! This idea that a group of extraterrestrial, super powerful beings that were so powerful and evolved past us, are almost godlike. Had come to the earth and set up like military, had set up like empires around the earth and established themselves as rulers ruling over people. Now, this is what humans do to each other. We go to other places, we go to settlements on the other side of the planet. This is particularly what the British did, what the English did for many years, and what the Romans did, and we established colonies around the planet. So we invade sovereign nations, and then we establish colonies and rule over them. So the suggestion is that the same scenario played out, and that's who Ra and Anubis and all the other gods and the Hindu gods, that's who they are. They were these alien beings. Now, I mean, what an exciting theory. I don't think it's true. I don't accept it. I think the gods of ancient Egypt and the Hindu gods are stories. I think they're exciting fictional stories like a lot of religion. But I am interested in some aspects of ancient aliens because I do believe, that there could be these interstellar species out there. And I am a believer that it's possible that these interstellar species travel around the galaxy and the universe and potentially send robots to do their exploring, and that they explore other worlds. And I do believe that they wouldn't necessarily interact with us. It doesn't seem far-fetched to me if you think that there might be super advanced intergalactic species that they would just call by a random planet, make some observations and then leave, or that they might come back incrementally every 100 years and make observations of a random planet, because they might be observing many planets. We don't know if there's a species a few hundred years more advanced than us and they have a particularly well-funded space program, if they are out there sending robots out into the galaxy to explore other regions. And some credible scientists have suggested, as I've said in videos, that there may be even independent robot species who can travel around the galaxy, and they may explore other worlds because we seek to explore other worlds. So the idea to me that we could have been observed is not so far-fetched. I actually consider it quite logical to think that we could have been observed. It's really a question of if there are interstellar species. But some of the, like I said, about the idea that the gods of Egypt were this god species of aliens who were ruling over the Egyptians and helped them build the pyramids, I don't accept that. I've heard some pretty interesting theories about sound levitation for building the pyramids, if you believe that sound can levitate large boulders and move them around. And a lot of that is just myth and folklore as well. So I don't accept that there was this period of colonization by aliens about 2,000-3,000 years ago, which is what a lot of the ancient aliens guys suggest. But I do think it's an exciting, fun idea. I am interested in the paintings. You might know about the Baptism of Christ painting, which has an object in it which you might think appears to be a flying saucer. I think it also looks like the painter could have been trying to paint the moon and didn't get the perspective right for some reason. But if you look at the Baptism of Christ UFO painting, which I'm pretty confident from what I've checked over and over again is a genuine painting. If I'm wrong, just tell me in the comment section. But it's an interesting one. And I'm interested in the Lady Madonna painting with the UFO, which has the man and his dog standing in the background looking at the UFO. And I sort of think, well, is this a real painting? And I've tried to confirm it, and I think it is. From what I can tell, it is a real painting. So it's interesting. This man has painted a flying saucer with a man and his dog looking at the flying saucer, which shows that the flying saucer is not a mistake in the painting which is being covered up. It shows that the flying saucer is intentionally there because we see the man and the dog looking at the flying saucer. So, this painting interests me, but I do believe that ancient people had their own ideas about flying ships and aliens and spacemen. So, there's nothing to say that this painter didn't just have a theory about the idea that there might be flying saucers and aliens and decided to paint it into his painting. It doesn't suggest that he had at any point in his life saw a UFO. It sort of makes you think, had this guy seen something in the sky one time and that's why he decided to put it in his painting? But that's not necessarily the accurate conclusion. He could have quite easily just been imagining spacemen and flying ships. It's not like, before the plane was invented, people had an idea about planes, It's not like the plane just, one guy come up and said, we're going to build a flying machine. People had been thinking about building flying machines for thousands of years. So people had their own fantasies about flying machines in the ancient world. And it's not like ancient people couldn't imagine extraterrestrial life. They did have these ideas, and definitely people in the ancient world could absolutely speculate on whether there were other planets and whether other planets were inhabited. So they could come up with their own fantasies about UFOs visiting the Earth and depict it in art. So we must recognise that ancient people certainly could have held those fantasies. But no, I don't prescribe to the ancient aliens narrative, but as I said, I do absolutely wonder if there are interstellar species, and I do have the position that if there are interstellar species, they would not necessarily invade us or come down here and colonize us. They may come by from time to time and make observations of our planet to see what we are doing. We wouldn't necessarily know if they were out there and if they did have that ability to travel across the stars. So we have every reason to believe that there quite possibly could be interstellar species who sometimes come to our neighbourhood and have a look at our planet and watch us and see how we are evolving. That's a completely reasonable idea. If you think it through, you'll recognise it's entirely possible. There is nothing that suggests that is an impossibility. It's entirely a possibility. So I will be today dismissive of some of the narratives that ancient alien theorists present, but I will remain open-minded about the possibility that the Earth has been observed by alien species in the past. So drop a comment in the comment section about what your thoughts are about ancient aliens and whether you think it's logical or silly to think that the planet could have been observed by aliens at some time in history. Thanks, guys.